like to welcome you to Boy Meets Wellness, a podcast that discusses the complexities, celebrations, and challenges of building a wellness ritual as a BOI, a person who is born obviously incredible. You are now listening to Boy Meets Wellness with poet, motivational speaker, and wellness lover, Evolve Benton.
BOI, born obviously incredible, especially when you wear it pretty.
Happy Friday, Boy Meets Wellness community. We're super thankful for everyone who has supported Boy Gear. All of our hoodies are 40% off at boygearstore.com. That's BOYGERSTOR.com. Enjoy the warmth and the sale this holiday season. We would really appreciate it. Today's interview features Danielle Dyer. Danielle is a psychotherapist working with the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. After receiving her MA in clinical psychology from Pepperdine University, she served her community by teaching classes and providing therapy to men and women impacted by incarceration in Los Angeles. Danielle currently provides trauma-informed treatment to teens experiencing incarceration in East LA. She is the lead clinician of a specialized unit housing female-identified youth victimized by sex trafficking or suffering complex trauma. To ensure longevity as a frontline provider of critical mental health treatment, Danielle consciously makes her own wellness a daily priority. The use of grounding activities, incorporation of mindfulness theories into workout routines, and practice of gratitude and compassion with herself and others works to ensure that her wellness cup is full before attempting to pour into others. Through her work, Danielle aims to decrease negative stereotypes that deter many folks, especially those of racial and sexual minorities, from accessing appropriate mental health services. Danielle's ultimate goal is to open a juvenile justice reentry center that will provide well-informed, holistic services to the underserved and often forgotten population. Before I share this interview with Danielle, I wanted to share the wellness tip of the week with you. The wellness tip of the week is to keep it safe this holiday season. As many of us in the U.S. know, COVID-19 cases are back up in the month of November. I know many of us want to go see our families and have our traditional holiday dinners. Before I share the interview with Danielle, I want to share the wellness tip of the week with you. The wellness tip of the week is to keep it safe this holiday season. As many of us in the U.S. know, COVID-19 cases are back up in the month of November. I know many of us want to see our families and have our traditional holiday dinners, but this year it's better to be safe than keep the tradition. Please be safe and commit to doing more Zoom or virtual events this holiday season in order to avoid the spread of COVID-19 and our yearly flu season, which has been hitting America pretty hard as well. I understand that many of us are struggling to even believe COVID-19 is real and living in this state of individualism. What I ask you to think about is the doctors and nurses' jobs that you're stressing out and contributing to that stress by not being safe this holiday season. So please stay home and be safe. Today's episode is brought to you by Mar Media Productions. Mar Media is a media production company that produces, publishes, and uplifts the stories, art, and journeys of queer and trans people of color and the people who make our lives incredible. Now for our interview with Danielle. Hello, Boy Meets Wellness community. Welcome to the show. Today we are on the line with Danielle. Danielle, how are you? Please introduce yourself to the community, full name, pronouns, and what is bringing you joy in this present moment.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Danielle Dyer. My pronouns, I respond to any pronoun, she, her, he, them, they, them. And what brings me joy at this current moment, I would have to say music. Music has become pretty much a life force for me. It's my heartbeat right now, and it's rare that I'm not listening to something. So music and dancing definitely bring me joy. I would also have to say hanging out with my dogs, just being close to them and connecting with them, getting that unconditional love that we all love, brings me joy. So yeah, those are the top two things that bring me joy right now.
Nice. So what music are you listening to? And you mentioned dancing. Do you got like a TikTok that we should know about?
I mean, music, I'm the type where if I find a good album, I will play that thing over and over and over again. Right now, I'm listening to No Allegra. Her album, what is it? Ugh, Those Feels Again. Oh man, I would just say she did what she had to do on that album. That's a great body of work. And then the dancing, I mean, it just comes in whenever I feel it. I find myself dancing more than I ever have in my life ever right now, just to kind of move around, move my body. I find myself like twerking to Flo Milli or to Brian McKnight or whatever it is that I'm feeling at the moment. And it just brings me joy. It just feels good. So I'm like, let's keep it going. Let's keep doing it. I love it. But no TikToks. No, it's all just in the mirror in my house.
Yes, that's our generation's TikTok, right? The mirror, right? Like that's all we
Yes,
had was a reflection of ourselves. So I love that. I love
exactly.
that. So
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about who you are. Where did you grow up and where do you live now?
Okay. So I was born, raised in Carson, California. I grew up, I
Woo
went to
woo woo
school.
woo.
I know.
Sorry, I had to come in there and get a little Southern California love.
Oh, you know it. I grew up there, but also I went to school in Torrance, California. So a lot of my childhood and growing up was spent over there.
Brilliant. So during this, like, I don't even know. Everybody's been saying unpredictable during this slowdown, right? Like COVID, I don't know, crazy election. Just during this time, how are you doing, and what are some wellness practices that you're bringing into your life to stay grounded?
Mm, yeah, this is a time I don't even know the word for it. I find a lot of times people say, unpredictable times or just, the world is falling apart, whatever you want to call it. I'm doing okay. I'm doing the best that I can. I think I've been very fortunate. I think something like less than 4% of people still have their jobs in LA County, and I'm in that 4%. So I could not be more grateful to have that. And for me, my wellness practices have changed quite a bit since this pandemic hit. Pre pandemic, I had hardly any time to take care of myself. I would go to the gym in the morning, go to work for 10 hours, sit in 2 hours of traffic, come home, go to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again. But this pandemic has done some negative things, but on the positive side, it's given me a lot more time to really check in with myself and be like, and wake up in the morning and be like, hey, Danielle, what is it that you need today? Like, what do you need to start your day off with in order to make it a productive, a good, a happy, a whole day for you? And for me, I find a lot of times I like to just take it slow in the morning. I've been doing a lot of stretching. I'll do some meditating, whatever that looks like for me in that day. I'll do some grounding, just literally go in my front yard and put my feet in the grass and just feel the heartbeat of that nature to get my day started off right. So a lot of my wellness is just really checking in with myself and trusting that I know what I need and then also giving it to myself. Whatever it is that I need, that's what my wellness looks like right now.
Beautiful. I love that idea of putting your feet into the grass. It just,
Hmm.
it gave me so much tactile energy, just the feeling of the grass, and taking you back to your youth and all of that. So, who are the people in your journey that make your life incredible? If you had a gratitude list, who would be those folks?
Oh man, I love that because our lives aren't just about us. We have a community and within community, love is built and that's how we grow. So my gratitude list would start off number one with my partner. She is wonderful. She is amazing. She is someone we've been together for 5 years, over 5 years, and she has really been instrumental in helping me foster my growth. I mean, creating an environment that helps me to feel comfortable with who I am, comfortable to explore whatever pathways, career, personal, whatever it is to do that. And so I don't take that for granted. And I think it's that love that we share is just so beautiful. And I really can never take that for granted. Who else makes my life incredible? I would say the kids that I work with, and I'm sure we'll get into this later, but the connections that I'm able to make with the youth that I work with has really transformed my life. And I take it as such a privilege and an honor to connect with these youth. And they really make my life incredible. And I really enjoy what I do, being in their presence and helping them in the ways that I do. Very, very instrumental in making my life incredible. And then the last people I would say I would like to call them like my soul tribe. So it's basically anyone who's really just divinely, I like to say, floated into my life within the last couple of years that have really just been supportive and encouraging and just to help have that community around, to help me to grow, but also to share that love and share that manifestation power with other people has been really, really an incredible experience. So yeah, I would say those three groups of people definitely make my life incredible.
That's a perfect segue. I love that you mentioned the young people you're working with. So you can tell our audience a little bit about just, what you do in the world to change the world, right?
Yeah.
What's your professional background? And can you tap into the journey of getting there? Like, how did you decide on that?
Yes, of course. So right now I am a mental health clinician and I work with youth who are currently detained in detention facility in Los Angeles County. My journey here has not been easy, but let's see. I went to school, undergrad. I majored in psychology. I got my master's degree in clinical psychology. And from there, I worked in a private practice where I gave psychological tests. I've worked in residential facilities. I've worked in outpatient substance abuse facilities. And through all that work, I realized I had a really strong affinity for those people who had been impacted by incarceration. And so through that work, after grad school, I was able to connect with a nonprofit organization that allowed me to create a curriculum and go into men's and women's county jails and juvenile halls to teach about sexual education, communication, reentry skills, anything that I felt was important to disseminate information about. I taught it. And it was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience to really connect with people who are impacted by incarceration. I feel a lot of times, in our society, we discard those people. We think we call them felons or we don't think that they deserve to participate in society once they get out. And I felt it really on my heart to connect with these people and show them that, yes, you are worthy of love. Yes, you are worthy of resources. You're worthy of a beautiful life. And you're not, damaged per se just because you made a decision that maybe other people wouldn't make. You made a mistake and you got caught for it. And just because someone else didn't doesn't make you lesser of a person. So I just really connected with these people and I realized that I had a passion for it because every time I would tell someone what I did, they would give me a funny look, they would gasp, and then the first thing that they would ask would be like, "Do you have a weapon? Like, do you carry mace with you? Do you?" And I was like, "No, I don't." And it may sound strange to some people, but I can tell you, I've been inside jails and facilities, and I can tell you, not one time have I ever felt in danger. It just speaks to that perception that we have of people that are detained or impacted by incarceration, that they're so violent, that they're so scary. And it's like, that is not the case. We're all human beings. We make decisions. We're born into environments that then impact our world. And then that's just it. But at the end of the day, we're all still human beings. And I like to just connect with that humanity. I'm not different from you just because I have some letters behind my name. I'm not better than you. We're all on the same field. We're all human beings. And I just really like to connect with that.
I really appreciate you bringing that in around some of the misconceptions, right? Because as a person who has family members who've been impacted by incarceration, right? Like, those are my little cousins, those are my uncles, those are people I really love. And some of the people, honestly, that I trust the most with my safety, right? So thank you so much
Mhm.
for being gentle and for calling in and showing some of those stereotypes. So please continue. I just really wanted to thank you for that.
Yes, of course, man. I think it's really important, especially the language that we use, even saying impacted by incarceration versus locked up. These people are just impacted by these circumstances, but they are still people at the end of the day. And then so through that work, I was teaching classes also in juvenile hall, and the organization that I was working for, it wasn't a good fit for me. I loved the work that I was doing, but I did not love who I was doing the work for. And I think a lot of people find themselves in that position sometimes. And so I was able to network and make some contacts and start working for the Department of Mental Health in LA County, and work exclusively with the youth who are currently detained and be their therapist. And so whenever a kid comes in to juvenile hall, they get assigned to a therapist. And so our job is to really take care of them, like as best as we can, take care of their mental health while they're here. I always tell them, you being detained is looked at as a punishment, but it should never be torturous. You should always be able to talk to someone if you need to. You shouldn't have to, get lost in your anxiety, lost in your thoughts. But all of these kids have had some type of significant trauma and they don't always know how to deal with it. And so that is my job. That is our job as our staff, my colleagues, to just be here for these kids and help them to process the things that they've gone through and hopefully help them to learn something. My goal is to always just plant a seed, and that seed might not bloom for months or years, but just to know that I'm a drop in the water somewhere to help, help them, to help their future generations, and just to help them do better, especially with their mental health. So yeah, that's about what I do.
Nice, nice. So, what would you say, as a person working with young folks, because we do have some young folks who listen to the podcast, which always makes me exciting. What would you say to folks who might have, friends or family that are impacted by incarceration? What are ways that they can support their friends or family?
Mm,
I guess on the outside, I don't even know how to phrase that. I don't even
yeah.
like that phrase, but you know what I mean? Because I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that what I seen when I was growing up was I felt like some of those family members kind of got lost, and I was never judgmental because I knew, I knew their whole person, but I even knew some of my family members were, right? Like they would be judgmental. Holidays would come up. Oh, so and so calling. I don't want that on my bill. I'm not going to answer
Mm,
the phone. So what are some strategies to support folks being impacted by it?
that's real interesting, especially now, society that we live in with this pandemic. I think if people really think about it, um, we've been impacted in a way that we're not able to um, enjoy the freedoms that we used to enjoy. We're not able to go the places that we used to go. We're in our house a lot more. And if you look around, it's a collective energy to this. A lot of people are going a little stir crazy and they don't feel like themselves, and they, are struggling a lot. And I think if we really take the time to be empathetic and realize that this is only portion of what people who are impacted by incarceration are going through. They're not able to go wherever they want to go. They're not able to do the things that they used to do. So tapping into some of the feelings that we're having now and multiplying that by 50 and trying to be a little bit more compassionate and empathetic with what people who are incarcerated are going through right now. And so that would be the first step, just to kind of put yourself in that position. But working from the inside out, what I hear the most from people who are incarcerated is that they just want to not be forgotten. Just like you said, on the outs, we tend to not, I don't know, we don't always go there mentally. We're not, okay, what is my cousin doing today? What are they, there's nothing much that they have to do. So a letter from me to them could mean the whole world to them versus us. We're like, oh, I don't have time to write this letter, or, oh, I don't have time to answer this phone call. But realizing that that phone call or that letter is everything to them, that when you don't have anything, it's the little things that really, really matter. And so just really focusing on the fact that they're struggling, it's hard to sit somewhere and imagine the rest of your life, the rest of your family is still going while your life is on pause. It's really a struggle for a lot of these people to get through that. And so just making sure you continue to reach out, making sure you continue to provide support in whatever way that might be. I don't know what visiting is looking like right now, or just writing letters, or shipping books, or putting money on their books. Just letting them know that they're still supported. The system is not going to let them know that they're still supported when they come out. they're not going to feel supported by, the systems in place. And so hopefully they can lean on their family and friends to really just help them get back into a place where they do feel supported and helped. I think I answered your question. If I didn't, let me know.
No, you did. You did. Thank you. Thank you for that. So let's talk about the young people. Many folks probably don't know this, but I started off my career as a clinician, and I was working at a group home actually in North Hills, California, called Penny Lane, and I used to work with LGBT youth at that time at the group home, and it was. I always tell people it was probably my favorite job, to be honest, right? Because I feel like when you're working with, especially teenagers, it's something new every day. Number one.
Yes.
And you really get to see a lot of their growth, right, during that time. And then also because of their emotional intelligence, if they have it, their responses often are very like existential, which makes you sometimes even think about your life a little bit more. So can you tap into some of like the successes you've had with some of your clients and maybe some of the challenges that you're seeing right now, especially with COVID and just our time?
Yeah, absolutely. And also shout out to Penny Lane. Like a lot of my kids go there, so I'm familiar with that. So that's awesome. I didn't know that about you. The pandemic, COVID, has really impacted the facility a lot. And I like to tell a story about back in March when all of this first hit, and I'm, trying to figure out what I'm going to do, what is work going to look like, is my family okay? And I go in and I'm sitting with this kid, we're just talking, and she goes, "Do you think the world is going to end?" And I was like, I don't know. What makes you say that? What makes you think that? And she was like, "Well, if the world ends, will you guys let us out, or will we just stay in here and die?"
Oh,
And
wow.
man, when I tell you I lost all the words that I've ever had, I was just like just dumbfounded. I was so humbled and I've never had my privilege checked as quick as that. I was like, wow, I'm really over here stressed out about, X, Y, and Z, which is not saying my stress was invalid, but it's also like, hey, there's these other set of people who have way less, than I do, and they're doing their best. And that's really what I've seen, how it's been impacted by by COVID. A lot of kids are very anxious. They don't really know. They're not able to reach out to their families all the time. So, they're worried about their families. So it's pretty tough for them right now. But moving on to the successes, I mean, I absolutely love what I do. I would not be doing anything else in this lifetime right now, at least. And I don't even know. It's successes can be so little. Because sometimes I see kids, they can either be with me for from 2 weeks to I've had kids for up to a year or a little bit more. So you just really never know. So for me, my major successes with these kids are when they feel comfortable in front of a therapist. It's important for me to provide a positive therapeutic experience so that when they get out, they're struggling. They can be like, oh, yeah, I had a good therapist when I was detained. Maybe I can try that again. Maybe I can talk to someone else while I'm out here, and that can help me too. So whenever a kid, opens up and they say, this is something I never talked about before, or they say, oh, I tried what you told me last week, that's when I know I'm making some type of impact. And that to me is all I want. All I want to do is be a drop in the water, like I like to say, just a little bit of something to create a ripple effect to impact, generations to come. So when I see little tidbits of that, when I'm impacting these kids in a way that they feel comfortable with not just an authority figure, but with mental health services, when they realize that you don't have to be quote unquote crazy to see a therapist, is just something that's beneficial for you. Whenever I can change that stigma, that's definitely a success I like to see.
What I like about what you put in your bio was this sense of coming from an overflowing cup. And I know you say you listen to the podcast, so you probably have heard me say this before. Like, I think that it's the position that we have to come from when we're serving others and when we're healing others. And, I consider the work that you're doing as a clinician right now really, some impactful healing work. So how do you make sure, I know you mentioned some of those wellness practices, but are you in therapy? Do you have a coach? Are you talking what you preach? Are you doing your own work as well? And what are some tips that maybe it's a two-pronged question. So like, are you doing anything? And then what are some tips that you would give other young clinicians thinking about working with this population?
That's a great question. I think it's really important for people who are doing work with other people, whether that be, service work or healing work. It's important to know that we're also healing too, and we can't take anyone further than we've been ourselves. So I am currently in therapy. I've had the same therapist for almost 7 years now. And so that gives me a space and a place to really let go of what I need to let go. So then that way I can, help these kids and help these people in the way that I really want to help them. So that's something that's really important to me, just checking in with my therapist. I have a really good supervisor who's there for me whenever I need to talk. Because some of these, I'm talking very lightly about these kids, but some of these kids have had unfathomable trauma happen to them, and it can be a lot. I'm a human being. Yes, I am a therapist. I'm trained, but at the same time, I'm a human being. I can't not be impacted by the things that I hear. So it's really important for me to have a space and a place to talk about these things so that I don't carry that with me. Mental health is very important and starts to impact your physical health, your relationships if you don't take care of it. So it's just important to me to make sure that I'm good before I try to make anybody else good. And, it looks different every day. Sometimes I'm able to see 5, 6 kids. Other days I'm not feeling okay. Maybe 2 kids is maximum for me. So like I said in the beginning, just making sure I'm checking in with myself and what it is that I need in order to be the best for these people that I want to impact. So that's what I do. That's what I say. Therapy, my supervisors. I also maintain a good physical health routine, just eating good, eating things that make me feel good, working out a lot and just keeping my body moving, keeping that energy moving, making sure that I'm at my optimal mental and physical health before I try to help anybody else. And then tips for people, I would say my first overall tip would be to find what works for you. I think a lot right now, which is great. There's a lot of talk about self-care. There's a lot of talk about, this will work, this bath, this meditation, this, tea, whatever it is that will work for you. And that's great. That's really important to have that visibility and to have, resources like that. But it's also great. It's great to find what works for you. I'll tell a quick story. I saw on social media a lot of people were posting about drinking lime juice first thing in the morning. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Everybody's doing it. Sounds great. Let me try it. They say it's good for your digestion, for your skin. Yes, let me try it. So I did it probably about 2 weeks. And when I tell you my skin broke out a way that I've never seen it break out before, puberty style breaking out.
Oh no.
But I say that because I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, all these people say this is a great wellness practice. Let me do it. And even when I was breaking out, I was like, this can't be from the lime juice. Everybody said this is great, but it wasn't great for me, and it's great for some people, I'm sure, but it just wasn't good for me. So I think it's really important to tap in to yourself and sit with yourself. And I know that's way easier said than done for a lot of people, but figuring out what it is that you like, what is it from childhood that you really enjoyed before the world made you feel bad about it? What is it that brings you that happiness? And once you figure that out, do it and do it as much as you can. Whatever that may be, whatever that wellness is for you, just make sure it's personalized. Of course, you can take tips and encouragement from other people, but just make sure that it's for you, developing that wellness routine and something that's sustainable. It's not, I'm going to never meditate and then I'm going to try to meditate for an hour a day. That sometimes is not sustainable for a lot of people. So figuring out what works best for you and what is also be sustainable. That would be my tips.
Brilliant, brilliant. So let's do some manifesting together right now, because I'm big on bringing the future into the now and being more connected to
Yes,
the now for the future. So what are some things that you want to see yourself doing in the next 5 years? What are we manifesting for your future?
I love that. I love that. Right now, in the past, I've always had like an end goal, graduate college, graduate grad school, get this job. And right now, I'm finding myself being a little bit more of the opposite, kind of turning that focus more inward, a little bit more of that divine feminine energy where you just kind of align with what's happening, align your energy with what you want to see. I'm not necessarily chasing after anything specific like I have in the past, but just kind of making sure that my energy and my vibration is matching what it is that I want to bring. And so right now, a lot of my manifestation is just bringing in more clarity about my gifts, about, my purpose, what am I here to do, and then trying to manifest opportunities that help me do that, that help me fulfill that purpose. So it's not so much that I want, one thing in particular is just I want to be aligned, and what a time to be aligned right now, right? And so I just want to be aligned with who I'm supposed to be in this lifetime and what purpose I am supposed to fulfill. So that's where a lot of my manifestation is focused on, just calling in what is for me, trusting myself, trusting my inner guidance to bring in those opportunities and situations that I will thrive. And yeah, that would be, I don't have, in the next 5 years too, I definitely want to make some some strides to my biggest long-term goal, which would be opening a juvenile justice reentry center. That's something that's really important to me. I've noticed that there's major holes in the system that really contribute to these kids coming back and the recidivism and, the school to prison pipeline, the foster care to prison pipeline. And there's so many holes in the system that need not just repairing, they just need total reconstruction. And I've taken my privilege to really sit with these kids and figure out what it is that they need. And I plan to continue to do that. And then with that information and with the networks that I have to really open up a space that is kind of an all encompassing environment for these youth where that they can get their resources, they can make phone calls, use computers, have emergency housing, get homework help, play video games, be a kid, have food, just things that they typically worry about. I want to be able to take care of that in more of like a one stop shop to really help these kids further their growth, because I can do a lot of things while they're detained. And then if they go back out into an environment that's not going to help foster that growth for them, it's not really going to help. So I want to create more environments for these youth to really thrive. Because I've met, when I tell you, I've met some of the most brilliant, smart, funny, intelligent, just beautiful youth in my work. And I know that society does not see them that way. And I want to create a space, an environment for them to really continue to thrive and for them to, reach the goals that they have and participate in society in the way that they want to. 'Cause these kids have a lot to give, a whole lot to give. So I think part of my life's purpose, especially within this next 5 years, is just to continue walking in my passion, walking in my purpose to really bring about change, sustainable change for these youth and for the generations to come. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that dream. And I love that your dream is so centered on, letting yourself unfold, right? Unfold to the
Hmm.
world, but then also you're still anchored in that like act of giving back and giving back to this particular community. And it's just so beautiful to see as a person who's like who wanted like at one point I wanted to like open up my own group home to know that the work that I don't necessarily want to do that now, but to know that someone else is going to do it and that I could just, invest in you. That's why I love to hear about people's dreams in the future because I think it takes a community, it takes a village to really make these things come true, you know? So before we hop into our last segment of the show, I just want to know, how can folks connect with you? And are there any particular projects or anything that you're working on that you would love for people to support?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm in the process of trying to use my social media a little bit more, I won't say intentionally. People can connect with me on Instagram. It's Dee's Diary, DeesDyery. Feel free to follow me there. People can also connect with me on Twitter. I'm much more active there. I talk about a lot of things on my Twitter, but you can connect with me there. It's at underscore JAYCASSIDY underscore. And they can connect with me there. I'm not specifically working on any projects right now, but most likely in the future, like I said, I'm trying to use my social media a little bit better to really connect with more people. So I think I'll be showing a little bit more of my interest and providing more resources and things like that in the future. So if people want to connect with me there, that would be great. A great place to start.
Dope, dope. And one more question before we head over that I didn't get to ask you. What's your relationship to money as a therapist? Because I remember when I was coming into the field, there was a lot of like lack mindset and it was very competitive. Like where's your relationship to money? And if you want to be transparent, like is the money good? Because I know a lot of folks are listening that might want to do it or thinking about going back to school for that. So
Mm-hmm.
can you reflect on that a little bit?
Yes, of course, of course. And therapy, I mean, if you ask most therapists, unless they're at the top of their game, most people do not get into becoming a therapist for the money. The money can be good, but like I said, unless you're at the top of your game, it's gonna be decent. There are opportunities to make a lot of money, but I've found, at least the work that I've done, it's much more intrinsic of a reward because there's not as many resources and funding opportunities in our society. I think once we put mental health on the same playing field as physical health, then maybe we'll get a little bit more resources coming in, and then that way be able to fund more opportunities and more salaries for better clinicians. For me, it wasn't until, to be completely honest, I got into the county that I started seeing like amount of money that I felt was I don't want to say deserved, but that it was equivalent to the amount of work that I was giving. I've worked in a lot of places, nonprofits, private practices that weren't. I didn't see that equivalence. I guess you could say. But working for the county, I mean, if anyone listening, that would be my number one tip. If you really want to get into this profession and make money, and if you're still getting your hours towards licensure, there are opportunities to do that in the county. It comes with great benefits. It comes with great, vacation packages, all kinds of things. And I've been extremely blessed to have this opportunity because I know so many people don't, and they get into this profession and it becomes a struggle. And, you're doing a lot of emotional labor. And then, if you're worried about your money, you're worried about your bank, it's a very difficult job to do. But I think getting into the right places and finding that intersection of your passion, but also getting compensated, appropriately for your passion. I don't think that's something that needs an apology, or that's what you should do. You need to take care of yourself too. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit hard to find well-paying places. But I would say most definitely look into the county if anyone is trying to find a place that will compensate them for the work that they're doing.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I am currently not in the field. I found another direction where I was like, oh, I got into student affairs. And I was like, I don't have to give hours. I can still help
Uh-huh.
people and I can still use my skills. But I think that it's important that we still have people like you and amazing people connected to it. And, that's why on this show we talk about, y'all, multiple streams of income, right? And what the multiple streams of income allow you to do is to do the jobs that you want to do, that you really care about, that maybe don't pay that, but you can have other streams that compensate it so that you're able to still give to the world. So
Mhm.
Danielle, thank you so much for wrapping that up. Let's head into boy talk and hop. I'm going to give you like a few phrases and then you just give me whatever happens in your mind on the other side of that. So my first thing for you is my favorite food is.
Ooh, my favorite food is my mom's macaroni and cheese, hands down. No question.
Oh, does she do the baked kind?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that the holidays is coming up. My mouth is like salivating.
Exactly. I'm waiting patiently. Yes.
Love is
everything, and everything is love. Without love, I mean, what is there? To me, love is everything. There's nothing I can do without love. There's nothing that I do without. None of my actions are without love. So love is everything to me.
my favorite book is.
Ooh, my favorite book is. I'll give a top 3. I would have to say The Alchemist, The Fifth Agreement, and All About Love by Bell Hooks. That would be my top 3 right now.
Your wake up song is.
Ooh. My wake up song is, man, it depends on the day. Some days it's, Flo Milli. Some days it's Beyonce. I don't know. It depends. It depends on, right now, it would have to be I Want You Around by Snow Allegra.
Beautiful. If you could spend the day with anyone dead or alive, who would it be and what would you do?
Oh, man. One person dead or alive, I would have to say my granny. She passed away in 2008, and she had a lot of dreams for her family, and I would just want to talk to her and let her know, hey, Granny, I made it, and my mom made it, and we're, doing great. All those dreams that you had, all those prayers that you prayed for us, came through. And I would just like to show her, everything that she went through, all of her sacrifices were not in vain, and just, spend that time with her. Maybe get her to make me a sweet potato pie, maybe, I don't know. But just spend some time with her. That would be great.
Wellness is
priority. Wellness is, you have to have wellness. It's a major priority. You have to prioritize your wellness. So wellness is priority.
And last but never least, Danielle is.
Oh, Danielle is dynamic. Just lots of parts of me. There's lots of layers. There's a lot to discover. But I would say Danielle is dynamic.
Yes, you are. And you're definitely born obviously incredible. I'm so excited that we got to talk, connect, and to just know that, there's somebody in my city. I always say LA is my city, like I'm claiming it. We all were born there, but someone in a place that I love, really supporting the communities that I love. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing. I really appreciate you, and I know that this community is really going to benefit from this amazing conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. And I really want to say your branding of Boy, Born Obviously Incredible it really gave me a reflection of myself. And I was really able to see like, hey, I resonate with that. So I appreciate you for the work that you do and holding space for all the people that you do. I think it's a beautiful thing. And thank you so much. It's such a privilege to have been here and shared this space with you. I appreciate you so much. My name is Danielle, and I was born, obviously, incredible.
Thanks for listening to Boy Meets Wellness. Stay connected on and off the show by following us online at Boy Meets Wellness. That's Boy with an I. Until next time, go be incredible.